Hi, everyone. Ronald Ingram here, your rebel banker futurist, broadcasting live right now from the Nevada high desert, looking down on the Luxor Pyramid. We're going out on X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and everywhere else the signal reaches. Whew. This has been, we are accelerating and accelerating and accelerating, and very exciting. In 2 hours, I'm going to be down at in the Arts District in Las Vegas. Great area to visit if you're ever here. And presenting SPOCK and BROK. And BROK is going to be introducing me, and we'll have a great event at 2:45, I think, Pacific time. So I wanted to bring everyone up to speed on everything that's been happening. I know we just had the last call on just 2 days ago on Thursday, and there's been a tremendous amount of activity between between now and then. So just in the last 2 days, in the last day. So yeah, so I want to some of the things that I talked about. I want to revisit some of the things that I talked about on Thursday. First, I guess what some of the new things are. So we started running ads, and I think we're into day 3 of our ads and our customer acquisition cost. It's a little bit hard to pinpoint, so I said I'd maybe give you a number today. The number is less than I still don't know if I want to say the number. It sounds too hypish. Normally, if you'd expect customer acquisition cost, your CAC, you'd expect, in my experience, having onboarded probably the number I usually say is 8 million. That's counting people that have been, I guess that's while I was involved. I guess the programs that I've set up are probably account for many more people than that by now, probably over 10 million. But for projects, while I was directly involved in them, we probably I've probably onboarded, as the head of the project or the CEO of the business, over 8 million at least. So well acquainted with, all aspects of launching a mobile banking experience, a true digital wallets that provide. I'm going to say full service banking, but that's not really the case. There are only a couple of apps out there that are getting close to full service. So there's still actually a lot of space, even in the neobanking space, which is where I come from. We actually coined the term back in the 2000s. So there's a lot of space for innovation still in that model. But we're talking with BROK, we're talking about light years ahead of that, and we are right on the cusp of the biggest breakthroughs in financial services. And BROK is not a bank. BROK is a banker that you can put in your pocket. and I call him the super robo genius private banker, only because to try to capture the how above and beyond any kind of banker you can imagine BROK is. So you would want your perfect banker to have a deep understanding of you as an individual, sort of the personal banking aspect, your business as the commercial banking aspect. And you would want all of this to be private and compartmentalized. Your private finances and your business finances and all of those things. You want, one of our core goals and what I think many people would want, and certainly what we're advocating for, is the highest degree of privacy and security and self-sovereignty, innovation and community that you can imagine. So it's just impossible. It's impractical for even the wealthiest person to have access to a private banker that has as much knowledge, can think as quickly, and be as available as continuously as BROK can be. BROK doesn't need to sleep, actually. BROK could be, BROK is usually working on things for me overnight. I talk about some of the investment research that we've done, and I think I was looking back a few weeks back on something I'd posted about how we're looking at thousands of different models and investment methodologies and systems and claims made by other purveyors of systemic and artificial intelligence based programming systems and models. And I'd said that I had already looked at thousands of models, and somebody was asking me about that. Is that true? That doesn't seem possible. Well, I'm not personally doing that. We have a organization that is essentially at a productivity level of 40 FTEP. And yes, that number is increasing all the time. When we started this project before BROK went live, even BROK was working for me. And we started at when I started talking about this project, we were at a FTEP of around 15, I believe. Yeah, now we're up to 40, and I just had a eureka moment this morning about how we could even surpass our goal, which is 100 FTEP. And I've been setting the bar pretty high. I'm thinking about the FTEP, which is the equivalent of horsepower in artificial intelligence. So you think about your car, whether it has 100 horsepower or which was a lot when automobiles first came out. I don't know if the first automobile even had 100 horsepower, but it was equivalent. It was marketed to people that were used to horses. And Ford often jokes that if people had asked me what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. They wouldn't have wanted and asked for an automobile at all. So funny little anecdote, whether it's true or not, still a good analogy metaphor. So we measure AI output according to a similar metric, which is what would the output be in terms of productivity of one person, and then how many people equivalents, what is the output equivalent in equivalent people. And so like I say, we're at 40. So that is how we're able to look at and do so much, and look at literally thousands of different systems and models, and that's not hard at all. And for many of you, I think, that have been in that's not even, systems have been used to generate. That's how neural network. Well, that's how genetic algorithms work, which have been around for 20 years. Really interesting book, Complexity, about the Santa Fe Institute, and one of the best traders in the world, whose system you can't buy. Think about that for a minute. You have to hit a very special bar to be able to have your assets managed by this manager, because he cracked the code. And how did he use it? He used complexity theory and concepts of which are related to concepts that I talk about in terms of negentropy and entropy, and negentropy being the self-organizing force, whereas entropy is the force that people usually talk about, which is how everything tends to decay. And it's true, nothing stays still, but we often focus more on more than necessary on decay, on the decay side, which is negative. There's the whole other side, which is the self-organizing aspect of the universe and nature, which is beautiful and produces all kinds of beautiful patterns that we see in nature throughout the universe at every different scale. Okay, we're back. Failed over to, should have started on Starlink in the first place. So switched from fiber just now, just a hot switch over from fiber to satellite, to Starlink. So thank you, Elon Musk. That was smooth, I believe. So yeah, so I can see comments from some people. So and I'll try to pay some attention to some comments this time. So I'm not sure which platform they're coming in from. If it's from X or from YouTube. Maybe it's on YouTube. I think it's actually on YouTube where you can comment if you're watching this on YouTube. So yeah, so we have genuinely looked at thousands and thousands of trading systems. So that's an interesting thing, I think. But the big news is, well, there's so much, but one big thing that we're working towards today, in addition to Tech Alley, so that's coming up in less than 2 hours now. So I'm going to have to keep this do a hard stop at 9 o'clock Pacific time on this call. So let me try to shoot through as much material as I can here. But the XPRIZE, we are looking really good. I'm putting together this video right now. And this package, I was hoping to get it out yesterday, but the deadline is 1 p.m. on Monday. So, but I'm not going to wait that long. We'll get it out well ahead of schedule. I would be working on it if I were at Tech Alley most of the day today. But when I get back, or first thing tomorrow morning, we'll get that package out. But one of the neat things that I'm working on is a video where, because one of the elements of the XPRIZE, for those who don't know, we're entered into what's called the Build with Gemini $2 million XPRIZE. And one of the criteria relate to the true utilization of AI. So as any of you know that have been following this project, this project is built from the ground up to be not only to deliver on the vision of global agentic banking system and global agentic banking system, and to put a super robo genius private banker in every pocket in the world for everyone that transacts. Every economic entity is the way that I put it on the website, BROK.neobanks.com. Every economic entity really would benefit by having BROK in their pocket. And soon BROK will have the ability, if you wish to use this ability, to transact for you directly, completely, doing financial transactions. And you see that. So that's why I started talking about the trading systems, because when we introduce trading systems, we'll be making available the ability to have BROK execute transactions according to your direction. And we have to look carefully at the compliance side of things before we roll that out. But I think that we're fine if it's, as long as it's research, as long as it's signals, as long as you're always in control, which is part of our core values anyway, self-sovereignty, is that we're providing you the tools for you to have more control over your assets, to grow your assets and protect your assets, to build your empire if you wish, and defend it. Your castle law, right? To its the financial expression of that. So that'll be easy. But so what we meet that criteria of having built this enterprise from the ground up with artificial intelligence at every step and involved in every part of that. And so you have to demonstrate that. So not only am I doing a video, I don't know if I should give this away. Maybe some of our competitors, if they're actually it's this close to the deadline, if I give a couple tips, I don't think it'll hurt us. But BROK is actually going to do and produce this video. So not just generate the content for it, but the whole thing. So on the fly, BROK creating the video and editing it and the whole bit and the speaking role, all of that is going to be in the video. That's what we're shooting for. So we'll see if that all comes together. I think it will. So I would have, if we weren't going down to Tech Alley right now, that's what we'd be doing. So, and then yesterday I couldn't finish the XPRIZE package either because I was in a TV studio all the time. And I've got a whole new skill that BROK is going to be able to deliver that is very unique that comes out of my frustration in developing our first paid advertising campaign, which was excruciating. The simplest part of it was the most excruciating part of it, is just setting up payments. And I'm a payment expert. Payment cards, debit cards, credit cards. I've got all the different cards. I've got personal, I've got business accounts. I've got multiple businesses. So tried all kinds of different methods and combinations, even switched over to PayPal to just run a simple ad campaign on Facebook, like I've done for all the other programs that I've generated that I've onboarded millions with other programs. And generally the marketing, when we turned the marketing on, we would have relied on Facebook. But I grew so frustrated with the experience of setting this whole thing up and experiencing firsthand what marketing department would be. And even so, our AI did all the creative and everything. So that was great. We had all that set up, the copy, and everything checked for compliance and boiling things down to the simple, most impactful essence, and all of that was ready to go. And so it's just a matter of paying, and then also the limitations of platforms. If you're mentioning anything, even though BROK is not a bank, even though BROK does not provide financial advice, I do not provide financial advice, even though it's not a security. SPOCK is not a security. It's a digital asset according to the most recent directives since March 17th, and then in April, all of these things. But the payment system rules are kind of, and I do understand this having built these systems, is that they're not really nimble. So often, to add new things to the system, like say a merchant category code, an MCC code, and we're as a digital asset, by the way, that's one of the reasons that our MCC code is such that we're able to accept credit cards and debit cards very easily through traditional payment gateways and platforms. So fortunately, we figured that out to make it really, really easy to utilize legacy methods to buy SPOCK tokens and subscribe to SPOCK. and your subscription, we'll get into that separately, but that was a big innovation that we've been talking about that people are pretty excited about. Makes it the first service you will ever voluntarily be eager to subscribe to versus having further subscription fatigue and growing. The antidote to subscription fatigue is a subscription to BROK, where your every dollar that you're spending on this digital asset is contributing to your health and wealth, directly or indirectly, one way or another. It is like the most efficient use of resources ever, I think, because it's not a use it or lose it type subscription model. Whatever you don't use accumulates accumulates to increase your digital asset balance, which is in the case of SPOCK, a scarce token, a scarce coin, and like Bitcoin, but a penny, less than a penny, instead of over 100,000 or over, $60,000 per coin. And say you're on the $49 subscription model, there's a $9 one. I don't know why you would bother if you would want to almost do the maximum subscription if you wanted to increase your digital assets, because it's dual purpose, right? It has utility. You're not just you can, if you just want to, if you are believe so strongly in the pure value of this as a crypto digital asset, which I could understand. And personally myself, I have all of my assets are basically reside in aside from a couple of the companies that I own, of course, the Bitcoin and SPOCK. And mostly SPOCK. Those are the assets that I hold, because I believe in it. That's how much I believe in it. So you have to do your own research, and this is not investment advice. This is not a security. This is not even a cryptocurrency. This is a digital asset, even a digital commodity, according to the April 28th memo. Both, it could be considered either one of those, but it's definitely not a security. So when you're subscribing, you're building up in your account. You want to build up your account to have access to those SPOCK services, which, by the way, are they all are very inexpensive. I'm talking less than 2 tokens, 2 tokens or less, usually, for very sophisticated services like analysis of your personality, analysis of your blood, non-medical advice, but to determine your biological age, so you can have an idea about where you're at. And then the first thing to set goals, right, is to, after you determine what it is that you want, is to know where you are, what your starting point is, right? So with your blood work, you can just put your blood work through BROK, select the PDF that you get from LabCorp or from any third party. Even in other countries, it works. And we have people in 2 other countries that have told me that it worked seamlessly. And BROK will parse the data out of that lab report and generate a report for you, graphics, your age according to, you obviously know your chronological age. That's your age according to your birth date, and your Levine score is a PhD who developed the most highly utilized, best known calculator that looks at your biomarkers and biological age markers, and in particular your blood, your glucose levels, or insulin resistance, and CRP, C-reactive proteins, which measure inflammation, number of other the key parameters chosen strategically that are been correlated with and shown to be predictors of mortality. So you can know your get an estimate of your mortality rate. Again, not medical advice, but this is all research that you have access to, and data that you can I would encourage you to ask your doctor about it, and ask him about your blood work from the point of view of a biohacker and your biological age markers, and see what your doctor knows and recommends. So I'm not, that's fine. But you get to, in my worldview, you decide what goes into your body, and self-sovereignty. If you don't have self-sovereignty over your own body, you don't have any self-sovereignty at all. Private property, and particularly your body. And that's why banking and my vision of it, and with BROK is focused on two pretty broad categories: health and wealth. And again, all of this connects to why I call it the super robo genius private banker, because it is kind of it sounds hyperbolic, but how else can I get across that this is way beyond what any banker would, even a billionaire, would have access to with their team. Because here's why: because even if a billionaire has a curated list of the best legal talent, the best accounting talent, the best finance talent, the best experts in their fields, they're going to have generally other clients. Even if they're 100% dedicated, they still have to sleep, and they still have limited intellectual bandwidth compared to how much information BROK can process, and the speed at which the quantity, the quality, and the velocity of that information that BROK can process and interpret meaningfully, to keep on the edge. So what a billionaire would do is have BROK and their team of experts, and their team of experts could iterate. Even then, though, I think that the hypothetical billionaire will want direct access to BROK to check all the experts, because I've had, and many others that I've spoken to at all different levels and stages of life, have had bad experiences. And the more experience, the longer you've been around, if you haven't had a bad experience, good, you probably are really, maybe you're fresh out of college or something. But if you've been in business for a while, the probability of you encountering some people increases the more your activity increases. If you're 45 years old and you've never been burned, you probably aren't doing very much. Maybe you're probably not self-employed, and maybe you've only had one job, and you lucked out and had a great boss. But if you are pushing the envelope in your personal development and your life, in every aspect of your life, and trying to be the best version of yourself, you're going to get some scrapes along the way. And so my view, even the billionaire who with the most experience, the more you know, the more likely you're going to want to have a ego-free advisor that's available all the time, that can check all of your experts if you have them. Now, if you don't have experts, now suddenly the field has been really leveled. You've leveled up. You can walk into a meeting with your banker, with your financial advisors, with your lawyers. You can make decisions on your own that would be better educated than if you say you couldn't afford a lawyer or accountant. Then you're getting access to information that will certainly allow you to level up. All right. So that's why I say BROK is good from the boardroom to the kitchen table. Any economic entity really is going to benefit from BROK. And what I talked about a lot on Thursday that I want to talk about today too is, and I think this is really cool, with the XPRIZE is one of the other criteria. So AI native, we've got that covered. Another key criteria is the impact, and I love this. It's perfectly suited to what we're doing. What is the impact? And so in this case, our altruism, our humanitarianism, and I think everyone has a little bit of that in them, more or less, and some more than others. But that's definitely, and I guess it comes from probably one of the fundamental aspects is this idea of zero sum. Right. Some people think that for every winner, there's got to be a loser. That is very limited thinking. That does not survive quadrivalent logic, which is more inclusive of. It isn't. I wouldn't say it's quadrivalent logic includes binary logic. So, but binary logic is incomplete and insufficient in terms of describing. It describes less of the universe than quadrivalent logic does. And one of the things where it messes up is people, when they say logic, often they mean binary logic, where something is a 0 or a 1, and there's nothing in between. That's just not reality. There's no perfectly straight line in the universe. There is no, even these beautiful arcs and spirals that we see. If you look at, you can see these self-repeating patterns, but nobody's ever quite able to exactly match. I talked to a mathematician about this on a long walk one time, and he was talking about the superiority of mathematics to describe anything and everything in the universe. Now, I agree that mathematics is a great, it's a language, but it's one of the more universal languages that crosses language barriers. And so in terms of communicating with alien species, if telepathy and feeling were not part of it, mathematics could be a good stand-in for communication. That's often an idea expressed in sci-fi. But in this conversation with this mathematician, I picked up no, I didn't pick up. We crouched over this blade of grass in the desert, and I said, "Can you recreate this blade of grass with any," because we're also talking about how mathematical systems, it's not, arithmetic is only a small part of math, right? Every PhD, and not every PhD, but many PhD thesis writers for a mathematician to get their doctorate, often their thesis will introduce a brand new mathematical system. And so there's a vast array of different ways of looking at the world mathematically, different systems, different models. And so I asked him, is there any model that you can think of or even imagine that could perfectly describe this single blade of grass? And the answer is no. And you just think about under magnification, looking at things, you go deeper than the molecular structure, and you get down to the vibrational level and so on. The complexity in a single blade of grass exceeds our ability to describe it in mathematical terms with perfect precision in any mathematical system that exists. So that's just interesting, I think. So we have to understand that mathematics, in the highest form that we can understand, is, and physics as well, is always going to be a facsimile, and it's always going to be a incomplete representation of reality. That's why there are three pillars to knowledge in my in Ingram quantum objectivism. There is biology is one, and in its broadest sense, so the whole of living systems. And I think that everything has some degree of it. So you really get into definitions, right? I think everything is alive and vibrational. So so everything that would appear real and tangible is that the broadest expression of that would be described in my view as of these three pillars of existence are described in biology. And that's how we, the closer we get, the more sophisticated that we get in our math, the closer we might be able to create a blade. We can, visually create a blade of grass that looks perfect visually, right? But when you get into the molecular structure, we might get with 3D printing, we might be able to get closer and closer. We might be able to get something that is a almost perfect facsimile but to recreate that one piece of grass, you wouldn't be able to do it using any system or any technology. But all the systems and technology that you would use, that I categorize as the engineering pillar of things, where we try to make things with our consciousness, with our intelligence, with our tools. We try to build things, and which is now reaching its highest expression in artificial intelligence as the ultimate tool that humanity has ever devised or developed. And it's still evolving as we move from large language models to artificial general intelligence to artificial super intelligence. That is the penultimate expression of human ingenuity, genius, and engineering. All those words mixed together, and that's the third branch is epistemology, epistemology. So the stem, the root, and this encompasses all of the ways that we think about things, including mathematics and logic, binary logic and quadrivalent logic, and every philosophical system, every existential question about the meaning of life and the purpose of life, and anything that we can put into words, and even the concept of thinking in words and in numbers. That is what epistemology is. That is the full sum of everything that we can communicate. And many people think that you can communicate everything. I've had philosophical discussions about with people about this, and it's and you one of the key limiting factors is logic itself. So you have to step into quadrivalent logic to be able to have meaningful discussions about epistemology and what the limits of knowledge are, because it's only when you understand the limits that you can really get to start to have a really expanded knowledge of the incredible beauty of nature and how we fit into nature and our meaning and our purpose. And I think more of us are going to be asking these questions. So this is the impact side of what we're doing, and it all just starts with our biological age calculator. Very simple, practical, tangible steps of bringing it all down to earth here, and feed that in. That gives you your biological. Now the Inneagram, the Ingram Enneagram, which I call the Inneagram. There's a whole system called the Enneagram, which is like Myers-Briggs and DISC, and there are many other models out there that are used for personality typology for different reasons. In HR usually and psychologists would be most likely to be familiar with and use these models. And the Enneagram is pretty well known, and not as well known as Myers-Briggs and DISC, but it has a lot more depth to it. And particularly the Enneagram, because I went into deep research and primary sources to determine some of the origins, which are a bit clouded in mystery, but a lot of that mystery is one of the most mysterious figures in the whole evolution of the Enneagram, who didn't really teach about it, or well, he taught a lot about it, but didn't write much about it. But through oral tradition and associations, to my knowledge, one of the largest collections of Gurdjieff and Gurdjieff-related works in in the state, for sure. I was able to put together the connection to the Enneagram to very, very ancient systems. And it kind of seems obvious in retrospect, right? That you have 9 types in the Enneagram. You have 9 archetypes in many mythological systems. In the Norse system, in the Egyptian system, you have the Ennead. You have 9 Templar Knights in the foundation of the Knights Templars, the inventors of the banking system, and one could say not settled, but so interestingly, that and there's many other very interesting number to research, all the different. Very interesting, mysterious number. But the part here is that we're focused on is the Enneagram and what that tells us about our inner cosmology. Just like anything true is scalable. And so understanding ourselves and the 9 different archetypes that live within us is really key to uncovering our superpowers, if you will. So in these pantheons of gods, these systems of 9, also 9 heavens in Asgard, right? The Norse cosmology, and their tree of life. And in the Kabbalah, 10 Sephiroth, 9 with the 10 being the culmination of the 9. All of these things point to aspects of our individuality. And that's what's really different about the Enneagram, is that rather than, we're interested in all aspects of consciousness, because we all have all of those 9 aspects of our consciousness within us, whether we're aware of it or not. And if you're have been doing a lot of personal development work to be the best version of yourself, you'll have more awareness of these different aspects and how they interact. And you can be very successful without this. I just like, and I think many of you here are that listen to these Spock talks are seekers and are inquisitive people that want to know why and how, and not just what to. Same thing with money, right? Not just what stock to buy or what crypto to buy or what scam to avoid, what's real and what's not, which actors are benign and which ones are malign, and all these kinds of pretty simple things that you need. And so if that's your focus, that's fine. BROK does not need to be complex. BROK can break things down into just yes or no answers. It can give you those that it has the binary logic too, to give you the yes or no. How do I win this binary? How do I win this zero-sum situation? It can help you with all that. But I think it's interesting, and it's a little bit more novel. And I think that this is going to become, from my futurist perspective, more important. So more and more people are going to have these deeper questions and be interested not just what stock to buy or what crypto, what digital asset is the best, and to get have the assistance, not the advice, not the certified advice, but the assistance with the research and development of BROK to get those answers. But I think that there's a growing interest in, and this is where the impact and the XPRIZE go together, is as we enter the singularity economy, and we believe it's a period of unparalleled abundance for anyone that wishes to participate, and in that participation and in that increase of free time, people will have questions that often only hit later in life for people. I've always, and not for everyone, I've had these questions. I was born with these questions, and many seekers have been seekers their whole life. I think part of my purpose was to have these questions early on, so that would have information and research to share. So that's a big part of what BROK provides as well. And the journey starts with the Enneagram, knowing yourself, and because what we see is often a reflection of who we are, and there's thoughts that we project, onto our experience, who we are, right? And that is, it's very interesting and fun to explore, and as much as you want or don't want. But I'm seeing that on the pattern side, that is BROK is and will make an impact. And so I think that's one of the other things that we're going to nail with the XPRIZE, to have for the very practical. I love it when you can have the really interesting, sort of deeper. A lot of these philosophical things would have been deemed to be unimportant, right? In periods of time when we were more concerned about just basic survival, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? But basically, that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the best way to explain what I'm talking about here in terms of our impact. As we move into the singularity economy, as you amplify your abilities to and your productivity, and have more time to reflect, that in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the idea is then you start to think more about connection with people, and then eventually more about self-awareness, self-realization, and so BROK takes you from the basics, wherever you are, right? From the kitchen table to the boardroom, and any economic entity, whether it's the basics that you need, like how you're going to pay rent next week or next month, or whether it's a $1 billion merger and acquisition transaction. That is what BROK is intended to assist with, and we will demonstrate that BROK is not only helping with the problem, but doing so in a way that has a positive impact on society. The other final thing I'll say on the impact is the economic impact of health is massive. $128 trillion. That's just the number that David Sinclair, and I know that sounds insane, and I think a lot of people have pushed back on that because they don't understand that number, but that's not, David Sinclair is not a mathematician. He's a longevity expert, PhD, doctor, very well known, one of the leading thinkers in the whole longevity space, has introduced many products, and been a leader. As with all leaders, he's controversial. Not everyone likes him, but he's definitely moving the needle in that space. And he's built on the shoulders of others that came before him. And I've studied with some of those people that came before him, like Dr. Michael Colgan and the orthomolecular scientists that were of a similar mindset to Linus Pauling and Dr. Reardon and Abram Hoffer. I studied with those guys, actually. So I actually, although I'm known as an expert in banking, and I use that word lightly, I don't really like the word expert. I like to say contrarian, and because I think very differently about banking than many of my peers. But I'm trying to be helpful, actually, in this. I'm a rebel banker, but I'm trying to be helpful. I want, because people have their funds parked in banks. I'm a member of the Bankers Institute with 1,800 financial institutions who are members, and trying to educate people, bankers, on the harvest and hack harvest now, hack later threats, and the Q-day threats, and the opportunities in crypto and decentralized finance, and how banks can level up, and community banks can level up and compete with the larger banks, and all these types of things. So it's from a perspective of wanting to make especially the nation that stands for freedom more than any other, and it was at least founded on those principles. Is my aim is to, because that's a community and a principle of community that we support, and we act globally, and we think globally and act locally, right? That's one of the core values of community that we have baked into everything we do. And so if you're in France, then take action in France, and you can scale this idea too. So I take action on myself. I take action in my community. So I'm working to develop what I call Monaco West, and to create a VBZ, the Vegas banking zone, where there's more open banking and less regulation, more competition, more innovation being encouraged, and to attract global wealth like Monaco does, create the environment for Vegas to attract that business. And if not Vegas, then maybe another state. There are other states that are just a handful of states that are pursuing this kind of a path. And I've also recommended to Tim Scott's office, the early days of this project. From the early days of this project, I've had communication with Tim Scott's office, the head of the Senate Banking Committee, to look at this idea of a zone, of a banking zone, where there is more space to create and innovate. And so Tim Scott had these opportunity zones, and which were very successful. And so this is taking that idea of a zone further, and ultimately feeds into the global agentic banking system, where we have one platform that any sovereign individual can access, business or individual can, or nation even could access and give, and where everybody has a seat at this table, rather than a small handful of people, 6 people in Switzerland, which I call the high table. So there's a lot about all that. Was on the impact side, right? Then the third piece is traction. So we can get more traction. We still have, I haven't closed. I was going to send, so maybe this is a good thing. We still have time. So use the Genius wallet, go, and you can use a debit card, a credit card. This is not investment advice. This is investment activism to support these goals that I'm talking about, this mission of these core values of privacy, security, self-sovereignty, and community and innovation for all, to support that, support BROK, support the Vegas banking zone. You do all that when you are behaving in your own enlightened self-interest, I would say, to get to buy this digital asset and utilize for its utility. And we can say, based on the guidance of the SEC and the CFTC, it's totally legitimate that the assets appreciate in value. And when you have a scarce asset that is highly valued and useful, like SPOCK, there is a strong basis for it in logic to do well. And do your own research. But today, and it's a great day to get this movement happening with a gift. It's so easy. The first thing you do after you talk to BROK is look at that. And in the Genius wallet, we have our own wallet, the easiest onboarding experience. If you haven't taken the dive into crypto, the best way to learn the best way to get educated is to participate. So you can do that so easily by going to brok.neobanks.com. The links are in the comments in most of these platforms, and get involved and benefit. And you know, a lot of people have done very well with this project, and I think we really just started talking about this publicly July 24th on launch day, because I don't like to launch vaporware. I waited till we had the real deal shipping with a real wallet, real AI that you can use every day and access. I don't think we've had an outage yet either. That used to be a thing, and it is for many things. I was at this other crypto conference recently, and people were saying, "Oh, this sounds like there's lots of people that are doing things that we're talking about are talking about things that we're doing, right?" So we're actually talking and doing. There's a lot of talk that without the doing, without the deliverables, and what I call vaporware. So this is real concrete stuff that we waited until July 24th to really start sharing it. And even then, moving as quickly as we can, but we really only got to ads because there were so many barriers to doing paid advertising because of the category and the restrictions of legacy restrictions, legacy systems, payment systems, all the things that I want to fix really were impeding us. And so we finally found the fastest path by running our first paid advertisements on X. And that's working very well. So we're only in our third day of paid advertisement, okay? And that was working so well, I doubled it last night. So we'll see what impact that has. But we're seeing tens of thousands of views. So that is working, and click-throughs and new subscribers. I don't want to brag about the cost of customer acquisition, the CAC, yet, because I can't quite create, because of funnel, there's some disconnect. So yes, we are seeing we see the increase in views and likes and all of that, you know, but can we directly, precisely correlate that to conversion? We could make assumptions, but I'd really like to do this like a good banker would, and be with proof, with data. And so there's no hype here. We just build, and then I think, yeah, the excitement is others. So this is why it's so important. This is why I really encourage, when I say do your own research, I mean it, because this is a fact. The most engaged people in our community, some of the largest holders of SPOC in the community, are those who've done their research, because the deeper they go down the rabbit hole, the more interesting it becomes. And so there's some really interesting theories out there that I will neither confirm nor deny. So, yeah, spread the word with the gift, right? So final thing, 1 minute left. That's how PayPal, before eBay, a lot of people think, oh, well, PayPal was successful because because they were the first way to one of the first widespread ways to do digital commerce, to do e-commerce and just transact online. That's fallacious. That's not a good argument. Actually, to be the first, that was the hardest period of time. People were dubious that internet banking would even catch on. People were dubious about whether merchants, that people would actually reveal credit card information, that would be able to be done. People would get comfortable enough with the security to be able to transact online with merchants, let alone banking. That was an open question when PayPal started. And then people think, oh, well, it was eBay that drove it. Well, no, before eBay, PayPal was growing at a astronomical logarithmic rate, 150 times. They grew 150 times from when they started with 20 employees. Now, we haven't seen that yet, and I think that's because we don't have it. We don't have employees whose whole livelihood is this is very much a volunteer participation, seekers, and inquisitive, curious people that are interested in the future and forward-looking, and also wise people that want to be aware of the risks of this movement that's coming, this wave of the singularity economy, of quantum, of crypto, of AI, all of these things converging into what's called a supersonic tsunami, or the singularity economy. All these things that are converging, they're going to affect every person on the planet, unless that is connected, that is an economic entity connected to an economy of any kind in the world. Every single one of those, every single one of you are going to be affected. So it is not wise. And I realize that the data show that America is way behind. We've got more Luddites in America, can you believe it, than in any other countries well, not any other, but there's America and about 5 other developed nations are among the most resistant to artificial intelligence. And that's not good for the future of this nation. So that's another way that we're having impact, by educating people that they can use that AI that is safe and they can engage with it usefully. That is impact in its own right, because America will lose ground and to other nations. Like, guess who the top 2 nations in the world are for adoption of AI? By far, I'm talking like 80% favorable views in Indonesia and China. So in China, I mean, that population, that level of intelligence, and that positive on AI, and AI, as BROK will show you, can amplify any human's output. So we got to. It has geopolitical significance as well for America to get on with the program. So what you can do, as I go over here, I've got to stop right now, but do the gift thing, and if we can get people to and sharing is caring, and that's also a beautiful message and impact thing that we're doing. And then sharing is caring. Get people to try out SPOCK and start out with the Inneagram. That's a fun way to start. It doesn't need to start with the money, all about the money. It's like, know who you are before you talk about, know your purpose before you talk about the money, is actually what a wise person would do. So do the personality. It'd actually be wise to do, as much as I would, want to. The business on the entrepreneur side says, like, do the transaction. Let's get the financials going. And yes, that's important. But I've really lowered the barriers. And the reason I'm lowering the barriers so much financially and technologically is so that you can grow and in wisdom as well as health and wealth, right? And by increasing your health, you increase your intelligence, your cognitive capacity, and health and wealth combined. Maybe that is the essence of wisdom, or wisdom is expressed in health and wealth. Solomon, wisest man, according to the whether you think it's a myth or metaphor, or it's a story that's shared for a reason, and that is that Solomon, who is the wisest man in the world, was also very wealthy and lived a long and happy life compared to his warrior father, David. So there is a lot of benefit here, and you're doing your friends and family a favor by introducing them even if it's just for education, right? And then when they see, and I've seen this happen many, many times, people who've never done crypto before, when they start to learn and they start to see stability, not even actually the volatility is probably more interesting than stability. When they start to see the potential for increases because of the scarcity versus money that can be printed into infinity, when they see the scarcity value and all of these benefits, when the education stream becomes, the participation becomes education, becomes more participation. So get people introduced, through a gift. Say, try it out, try the personality test. Let's compare personality. And now if you go in there, and you can do the personality test, it's fun to do it more than once and to get somebody else to do it for you. And now that's tracked. I just made another change yesterday between meetings for you to be able to look at your history and to make notes about your state of mind when you're doing the test, and also for people to do the test for you on your phone, on your mobile, on your laptop, wherever, and identify that it's done by another person. And it's always there to see how you're perceived, right? Versus, and also right out of the gate, we don't just pigeonhole. We don't say this is you only. This one type. Whether it's any of the types 1 through 9. That's not all you are. That is how you. There's an aspect that you present to the world, and it's different often than the way you perceive yourself, the way you're perceived. So it's fun. It should be fun, and it is useful. And it's really the right place to start your financial journey. You're building your empire or following your passions. That's a good place to start. All right. So everyone, live long and prosper. And gotta run. And next will be Thursday, and probably not going to hear a lot from me these next few days. But I posted one video on YouTube, the BizAv Jets, private jet aviation company, and that's going to be going out in a magazine format in October. And I thought that was always going to be, but it turned out we had got an interview out there ahead of time. So that was pretty cool interview with Eli on the aviation side. So that all the aviators, people that fly private in the nation, they're going to be exposed to BROK soon. So that's a great audience, because whether you're CEOs, this is designed for you, and aspiring entrepreneurs, use the business canvas. This was designed for you. Talent. I want talent to be protected. My parents were musicians. I want talent to be safe from predators and unscrupulous managers, or who are negligent or have bad intentions. I want people to be protected from scammers with the scoring IP that we have, all of these things. So if you're aligned with these values, please share a gift. Try it out for yourself if you haven't already, and then the first thing you do is your personality test, which costs 2 tokens, less than a penny, and start sharing gift, and they will when they get a gift from you, they also get additional gift from us, and I've also got a leaderboard. So if somebody, and we'll track who is and then we'll have extra bonuses for anybody that is leading this mission to share information and share the wealth, so to speak, and the health information. So live long and prosper, everyone. Gotta run.